That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what, a lot of people watch that one.
Jake Paul needs to fire his advisors, his people that tell him to make these fights, because that's not good.
Jake's a fucking lunatic, and it's probably real. I saw Joshua knock out Francis Ngannou, and the guy was like out cold for 5 minutes. And this is a guy who had never been knocked down, let alone knocked out.
If he steps in the ring with him, and actually a bell rings and there are punches thrown, every bit of Jake Paul is not a real boxer conversation is gone forever.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are set for a blockbuster Christmas clash. The fight will take place in Miami, Florida on December 19th, featuring 8 3-minute professional rounds. Jake Paul last fought in June, earning a points win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., while Anthony Joshua is coming off a September 2024 knockout loss to Daniel Dubois. After the fight was announced, Jake Paul openly expressed his thoughts about this fight and said, "This isn't an AI simulation. This is Judgment Day, a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt disappears, and no one can deny me the opportunity to fight for a world title. To all my haters, this is what you wanted. To the people of the United Kingdom, I am sorry." On Friday, December 19th, Under the Lights in Miami, live globally, only on Netflix, the torch gets passed and Britain's Goliath gets put to sleep. I know, you got him picked, ha ha ha. On the other hand, Anthony Joshua also didn't hold back and added, "Jake or anyone can get this work. No mercy. I took some time out and I'm coming back with a mega show. It's a big opportunity for me. Whether you like it or not, I'm here to do massive numbers, have big fights, and break every record whilst keeping cool, calm, and collected. Mark my words, you'll see a lot more fighters take these opportunities in the future. I'm about to break the internet over Jake Paul's face." Dana White reacts to the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, calling it a bad idea. He adds that despite his opinion, it's clear the fight is generating massive attention and giving fans exactly what they've been waiting for.
Did you see the fight that's reportedly being worked on for December 19th in Miami?
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what, a lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get what they've finally been waiting for.
Promoter Frank Warren also reacts to the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua announcement. Noting the fight will draw massive attention, he points out Joshua's status as a former 2-time world champion and Olympic gold medalist, while highlighting Paul's huge following despite limited amateur experience. Warren says Jake Paul is stepping up against a live elite fighter, making him a clear underdog, but acknowledges Paul believes he can win.
It's a fight that will generate a lot of viewing figures. The guys will get extraordinarily well paid for it. You've got AJ, who's obviously well known over here. In America, he's not got such a big profile, but Jake Paul certainly has, and lots of followers. It's a fight that I'm sure that AJ will go in as a massive favourite, former 2-time world champion, naturally a natural big heavyweight, gold medalist at Olympic Games, against a guy who never had any amateur fights. What's he had, about 10 or 12 pro fights? Been accused of not fighting decent opponents. Well, you've got to take your hat off to Jake Paul. He's stepping right up. He's going in with a live fighter, and you know, it's going to be a tough night for him. I think he'll be a big underdog for obvious reasons, but he believes he can win it.
Johnny Nelson also reacts to the announcement of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul in December, saying he never imagined the fight happening. He notes that the matchup shows Joshua's desire to make history and earn big money, calling it a massive business move for Jake Paul. Nelson points out the contrast in experience, highlighting Joshua as a former 2-time heavyweight champion and Paul as a domestic-level fighter, and emphasizes that Joshua will need to be in peak condition.
In my head, I never, ever thought this fight would happen. Why? Because of Anthony Joshua's desire to be in the history books, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To me, it shows me his desire. Yeah, pick up 50 million along the way. Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK. Would he win a British title? No, I don't think so. So now they're putting this domestic level fight in with a former heavyweight 2-time champion of the world. The weight is 245. So I think the last time Anthony Joshua weighed around that was when he boxed Usyk. That means he's got to be fight fit on point, because his last fight was 18 stone. I think it was 254 against Danny Dubois.
Johnny Nelson explains that this is a real fight, not an exhibition. He says Anthony Joshua must get into proper fight shape and prepare fully, noting that unlike push and pull bouts, this is serious competition. Nelson adds that Jake Paul is either crazy or extremely brave for taking on Joshua, and says it will be interesting to see how it plays out.
So now he basically saying you've got to get yourself in position, get yourself fit, and get yourself ready for fight. It's not tiddlywinks. This is a fight. It's not a push and a pull. You know, so as long as it's not a push and a pull, and don't put me down and don't touch me in the build up to this fight. You know, remember when McGregor and Mayweather, they had this little side deal, don't touch me in the build up to this. If this is a real, legitimate fight, Jake Paul is absolutely crazy. If not crazy, he's super brave. And it'll be interesting to see.
However, while many expect it to be a routine fight at the office for Joshua, the heavyweight legend Tyson Fury believes the YouTuber turned boxer will shock the world. He thinks Anthony Joshua is past his prime, while Jake Paul is on the rise. Fury notes Paul's new heavyweight look, describing him as a bit bulkier and stronger, and predicts he could score a knockout against Joshua.
There's been some talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky.
Former heavyweight boxer Tony Bellew reacts to the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul announcement, calling the matchup ridiculous. He criticizes the jump from fighting Jason Davis to AJ in just 2 weeks and says he won't believe it until the fighters actually step into the ring. Bellew adds that if Joshua puts on the gloves and Jake faces him in the opposite corner, the outcome will be entirely in Joshua's hands.
AJ versus Jake Paul, please just stop it. It's ridiculous. You don't go from Gervonta Davis to AJ in the space of 2 weeks. I don't believe it until I see him with 10-ounce gloves on. And if Anthony Joshua does stick 10-ounce gloves on and Jake Paul is the opponent in the other corner, it ends whenever Anthony Joshua wants.
Lakay Mayweather reacts to the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup, insisting that if it's a legitimate fight, it's real and not fake. He makes it clear he favors Anthony Joshua, calling him a far superior fighter, and saying Paul wouldn't stand a chance. Mayweather emphasizes that the answer is obvious and shouldn't even be questioned.
If it's a legitimate fight, it is not fake. I got Anthony Joshua in.
Why? Both of you, why?
What do you mean, why? 2 rounds.
Why?
What you mean, why? Because he's a better fighter. Way better.
Why? What the hell?
You shouldn't even be asking us that.
Antonio Zepeda predicts that Anthony Joshua will knock out Jake Paul, saying that if Joshua doesn't do it within 2 rounds, it would be shocking. Zepeda expresses confidence in Joshua's power and believes Paul won't be able to handle it.
Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul.
If Anthony Joshua don't knock him out in 2 rounds, that's #1 bullshit.
So what you think?
I think Joshua gonna knock him out.
Think you gonna knock him out?
He better. He's already did in Ngannou.
That's all the reactions we have on the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua showdown. Fans are buzzing with opinions, and it's clear this fight is already one of the most talked about bouts of the year.